I welcome you all to this validation workshop. You may recall that ahead of the 2015 general election, the Commission introduced the idea of voting by internally displaced persons, IDPs. For this reason, a policy and framework designed by the Commission was revised and validated in 2018 for the 2019 general election. Today, the same policy has been revised and is being presented to stakeholders for review and validation ahead of the 2023 general election. The idea is to ensure that no eligible Nigerian is left out of the electoral process on account of displacement, disability, or other circumstances that may limit citizens' participation in the electoral process. What is presented to stakeholders today has taken into consideration several developments since the last review and validation exercise in 2018. First is the increased number of IDPs as a result of widespread insecurity nationwide. Secondly, to incorporate not only the displacement of citizens arising from armed conflict, but also natural emergencies such as flooding. Thirdly, to align the framework with the provisions of the Electoral Act 2022, specifically Section 24, subsection 1, which empowers the Commission to ensure that, as far as practicable, no Nigerian is disenfranchised on account of displacement by emergency situations. Finally, to align the framework with the national policy on internally displaced persons 2021. I invite you all to contribute to the discussion at this validation meeting. What is presented to you is essentially a draft. We look forward to your input so that working together we can enrich the framework as well as the regulations for voting by internally displaced persons. Beyond the validation of the document, we also look forward to a robust collaboration with stakeholders for voter education and sensitization, in this particular case, for the internally displaced persons. While we always appreciate our collaboration with all stakeholders, it has become necessary to make an important clarification in respect of a statement attributed to a section of civil society organizations. At a media briefing yesterday, the Commission was accused of failure to display the voters' register as provided by Section 19, subsection 1 of the Electoral Act 2022. This claim is incorrect. What the Commission displayed for claims and objections in our local government area office nationwide for a period of 1 week from 15th to 21st August 2022 was not the entire register of voters, but the list of fresh registrants at the end of the fourth quarter of the continuous voter registration exercise covering the period 11th April to 31st July 2022, as has been the practice for several years. Earlier, the Commission had displayed the register 3 times, 24th to 30th September 2021 for the first quarter, 24th to 30th December 2021 for the second quarter, and 26th March to 1st April 2022 for the third quarter. A comprehensive schedule of the exercise and display of the register was shared with stakeholders at our quarterly meeting just before the inception of the exercise in June last year. We wish to assure Nigerians that the Commission will display the comprehensive register in all the 8,809 wards and 774 local government areas and area councils nationwide as envisaged in Section 19, subsection 1 of the Electoral Act 2022. This will integrate fresh registrants under the last CVR exercise to the existing register of 84 million voters. The date will be announced as soon as the Commission completes the ongoing automated biometric identification system, the IDPs, weed out all double or multiple as well as ineligible registrants. We appeal to some of our friends in civil society to be guided accordingly. On this note, I would like to appreciate our development partners for the continuous encouragement and support, as well as all stakeholders for your presence. We look forward to your contributions to enable us to enrich and finalize this important document ahead of the forthcoming 2023 general election. I thank you very much, and you are most welcome.
Another round of applause for Honorable Chairman. IFES. As you all know, the International Foundation for Electoral System has been in Nigeria since 1998, and thank you very much. Sometimes I say in Nigeria, people who looks like our height are consistently discriminated, even in the bathrooms. So, but I've been comfortable with that. But thank you. So as you know, we've been here since 1998, providing technical support and partnership to the Independent National Electoral Commission, the CX, and other civil society organizations. IFES is a global leader in promoting democracy, and we advance good governance and democratic rights by, of course, providing technical assistance to such EMBs, and particularly to also empower the underrepresented to participate in the political process. So we are very much happy to be here today. As earlier mentioned, this journey started way back in 2015, when we had to come together again with the Electoral Commission to look at the IDP issue and to ensure that people are enfranchised, are allowed to vote irrespective of their temporary status. And today, that is the same commitment this commission is advancing. They've reviewed the document to make it current and relevant to the 2023 elections, but they've not also done that alone. They've thought it right and fit to invite all stakeholders to be part of this journey, to ensure that this document reflects and enfranchise all IDPs who are eligible to vote. IFES remains ready and willing to support the Commission in this strive and in the successful implementation of the framework and regulations for voting by IDPs. We thank INEC for its continued collaboration and partnership. INEC should be assured of our readiness to continually partner with the Commission in achieving its mission of serving as independent and effective election management body committed to conducting free, fair, and credible elections for sustainable democracy in Nigeria. I would like to appreciate other stakeholders for their participation at this validation meeting, which highlights our collective willingness to work together to ensure that Nigeria's electoral process is truly inclusive of the needs and aspirations of marginalized groups. I want to extend our appreciation to our donors, the United States Agency for International Development, and the Foreign Commonwealth and Development Office, FCDO, for their continuous and consistent support and commitment to enhancing credible elections in Nigeria. Finally, on behalf of IFES, we look forward to a productive validation session and wish you all a fruitful deliberation. Thank you very much.
Chief Clerk and all the members of the INEC family. I've seen many of the commissioners and resident electoral commissioners, international development partners, IFS, very important stakeholders. I've also seen Jack. Invited guests, members of the press, good morning. Let me start by commending the commitment of the Commission to inclusivity in the electoral process and in response to stakeholders' requests in organizing IDP voting operation in the state of emergency states for the 2015 and 2019 general elections. One of the strong lessons from the exercise was the absence of a clear legal provision in that regard. Nonetheless, the efforts of the Commission subsequently yielded fruits in the amendment of the Electoral Act 2022, Section 24, subsection 1, which provides, in the event of an emergency affecting an election, the Commission shall, as far as possible, ensure that persons displaced as a result of the emergency are not disenfranchised, unquote. The legal provision provided an excellent foundation upon which to build a sustainable and strategic framework for IDP voting in Nigeria. The policy document proposed by INEC to guide the conduct of IDP voting operations and bring the IDP communities into the voting net is worth applauding and support from all stakeholders. There is need to also improve on the framework and the regulations and guidelines for voting by internally displaced persons, which will drive IDP voting operations for the 2023 general elections. The Commission should draw lessons from the 2015 and 2019 experience and efforts made, and also consult with knowledge holders at state and national levels, and also in consideration of international best practice. That will ensure that the framework document and the regulations and guidelines are grounded on practical realities. In all truth, the overarching guiding principle for the IDP framework by the Commission is a demonstration of commitment to inclusivity, which is consistent with the avoidance of discrimination in our electoral process. INEC's commitment to its mission to serve as independent and effective electoral management body committed to the conduct of free, fair, and credible elections for sustainable democracy in Nigeria is not in doubt, as it ensures that persons displaced as a result of emergency are not disenfranchised. I wish to commend this effort and ask all relevant stakeholders to look at the document with a view to giving it a very good and positive critique, so that all efforts towards the 2023 general elections will be geared towards giving every Nigerian the opportunity to vote and be voted for. I wish us a fruitful deliberations in carrying out these noble objectives. Thank you very much.
Please, let's give her another round of applause.
And criminal gangs, as well as inter-communal violences and conflicts. As a result of displacement, most people find themselves in internally displaced persons camps, and these people need to exercise their voting franchise. In its drive to promote the concept of inclusivity, the Commission initiated and successfully managed the participation of internally displaced persons in 2015 general elections. The initial effort in 2015 was limited to cover only 3 northeastern states where the state of emergency was declared. That is in Adamawa, Borno, and Yobe in response to the displacements that the insurgency had caused. For the 2019 general election, which was the second period, a broader and more robust framework was developed and implemented to cover areas where displacements were triggered by factors other than insurgency, such as natural disasters, hardest farmers' conflict, as well as communal crisis. The expansion increased the affected states from 3 states in 2015 to 15 states in 2019. I have a table here that shows that detail, and the stats is attached. The broadening of the IDP framework is critical because of the growing population of displaced persons, displaced Nigerians, that is estimated to be 3.8 million as at the end of 2021, as shown in the table below. There's a table. I'll give you the details. Now, as part of its preparations for the 2023 general elections and in accordance with the core commitments, the Commission constituted the 2018 IDP Technical Committee to review its IDP policy framework in line with current realities. Consequently, the Committee on the Review of Internally Displaced Persons Voting Framework embarked on the process of systematically revising the framework and gathering data on IDPs, including identification of affected polling units and vote registration areas, so as to plan on how best to provide them with electoral services across the states of the Federation where displacement had occurred. The legal framework. The legal framework for IDP voting derives powers from both the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria 1999 as amended and the Electoral Act 2022. Thus, the Commission, drawing powers from Section 160, subsection 1 of the Constitution, as well as Section 24, subsection 1 of the Electoral Act, developed and revised the IDP voting framework. Section 160 of the Constitution, for instance, empowers the Commission, by rules or otherwise, to regulate its own procedures in order or confer powers and impose duties on any officer or authority for the purpose of discharging its functions. Similarly, Section 24, subsection 1 of the Electoral Act empowers the Commission to, in the event of an emergency affecting an election, the Commission shall, as far as practicable, ensure that persons displaced as a result of emergency are not disenfranchised. The Commission drew on both provisions to design the framework to ensure that IDPs are provided with opportunity to exercise their rights as citizens. Then data on IDPs in Nigeria. Basic facts sourced from update of the IDP situation in Nigeria indicate that Nigeria has, over the past 4 years, seen a dramatic increase in communal violence, conflict, harder farmer clashes, banditry, as well as natural disasters. Together, these pockets of violence have caused a humanitarian situation and increasing levels of displacements comparable to some of the better-known African camp emergencies. For instance, in the Northeast, the 13-year conflict has shattered lives, infrastructure, basic services, and social fabrics. In the Northwest and North Central regions, although the violence and displacements are rooted in disputes over land, resources, banditry, and other forms of criminality, the situation has become exacerbated by climate change as shown in Table 2 below. Now, review of the progress made in 2019 and 2022 IDP voting framework. The measure of progress and achievements of the Commission on the review of IDP voting framework is better appreciated when compared to what was obtained in 2019. and what is currently planned for 2023 general elections as outlined in the following table. I will go one after the other. The table is on table 2, and the first item in 2019, an inter-agency task force on IDP, that Special Technical Committee on IDP voting, was set up on the 22nd of October 2018 to produce the regulation for voting by IDPs and framework for voting by IDPs. While in 2023, the IDP Committee, the Committee on the Review of Internally Displaced Persons Voting Framework, was inaugurated on 9th June 2022. That you can see now, one was established in October 2018. This time around, we have established it in 2022 June. So we have enough time to look at it properly. Then 2, Multi-Agency Technical Committee on IDP Voting, set up by the Commission, drew lessons from 2015 efforts and consulted with immediate past members of the committee. While in 2023, the Technical Committee was constituted with both new members and members of the previous 2018 Special Technical Committee on IDP, who are still in active service. 3. In 2019, identification of IDPs extended to include communal clashes, banditry, harder farmer conflict, and only 15 states benefited from the IDP voting. While in 2023, we expect the identification of IDPs to be extended to include communal clashes, banditry, harder farmer conflicts, etc., to include all affected areas in Nigeria. Number 4, Section 77, subsection 2, and Section 117, subsection 2 of the Constitution entitled every citizen of voting age to be registered as a voter. In 2023, the Section 160, subsection 1 of the Constitution empowers the Commission by rules or otherwise to regulate its own procedures to confer powers and impose duties on any officer or authority for the purpose of discharging its functions. Number 5, in 2019, the Electoral Act 2010, as amended, Section 42, Sections 42, 46, and 58 empower the Commission to create polling units, determine their locations, relocate them, and allot voters to polling units. While in 2023, the Electoral Act 2022, Sections 40, Section 44, and Section 56 empower the Commission to create polling units, determine their location, relocate them, and allot voters to the polling units. Number 6, amendment of the Electoral Act Section 26, subsection 1, amended it said in event of an emergency affecting election, the INEC shall, as far as possible, ensure that persons displaced as a result of emergency are not disenfranchised. While for 2023, it says Section 24, subsection 1 of the Electoral Act 2022 says in the event of emergency affecting an election, the Commission shall, as far as practicable, ensure that persons displaced as a result of emergency are not disenfranchised. Number 7, under 2018 situation, validation of the framework and regulations documents for voting by IDPs was on the 12th of December 2018, while the one for 2023, INEC has moved from reactive activity to planned program involving all relevant stakeholders as evident in the early constitution of the IDP committee and an early program for the validation of the revised framework and regulation for voting by IDPs today, the 6th of September 2023. Number 8, under 2019, voting in IDP counts for intra-state at RA level, while in 2023, voting in IDP counts for intra-state. Beavers is to be used and configured to polling units. Item number 9. Under 2019, INEC voter authentication system, that is smart card reader, was used for voter authentication on election day. While in 2023, the bimodal voter authentication system BVAS will be used. It authenticates eligible voters either via the thumbprint or the facial recognition system. Then finally, in 2018, creation of voting points where registered voters exceed threshold of 750 voters, while for 2023, voting will be done at polling units in IDP camps and other identified secure, accessible central locations. Now, the Commission's revised IDP framework and regulations provide a template for IDP voting operations, not just in conflict zones, but also in areas of population displacement that may have been affected by non-conflict factors. This policy framework further elaborates and reinforces the Commission's commitment to 1. Conduct of free, fair, credible, and inclusive elections in Nigeria. 2. To propagate, deepen, and sustain the knowledge of sound democratic election practices in which the protection of the rights of all citizens to participate in the electoral process, regardless of disability status, are protected. 3. To ensure that as much as possible, internally displaced populations are afforded the opportunity to exercise their rights as enshrined in international and national conventions and laws. Then 4, to align the 2022 IDP voting framework with the Electoral Act as well as with regulations and guidelines for the conduct of elections 2022. So today's meeting is aimed at presenting the framework to stakeholders to review and suggest improvements. This validation meeting is therefore critical, for it aims to take in the suggestions from field officers directly working with IDPs across the country in order to improve the framework. Secondly, this will send.
First, the INEC should make sure they provide the voters card in time, because the last experience in 2019 general election was so poor, because they jam-packed the whole thing and took it to the local government headquarters and asked us to go there, which was not. And later they now brought it back to us. When they brought it back, it was jam-packed. You can't even know that this is the person you know. They are picked from other places to your place and they pick your own to another place. That was how it was rammed down. And many people didn't vote. But actually in Benue State, general election in 2019, the IDP voted massively. And secondly, I want them to, as they are doing it, they should do it in time, so that if they cannot separate the IDP voters card, they should take time to bring it there. They announce that this period of time, the voters card are here. So everybody should search his own there and get. Because you know IDP are people that live with trauma. Because when you want them to go somewhere else to go and search for something, they won't go. Because of they're already thinking of their lives and all those hardship they are passing through. And thirdly, I want the government to employ some of the IDPs too in the general, this 2023 coming election. We should employ some of the IDPs in their exercise.
So let me talk about the last point, about engaging some of the IDPs in the conduct of the election. Why do you make that suggestion? What change or what difference will that bring?
Well, I think let them feel that them to belong since they started with them, to show them that they are only displaced, they are still indigenous of the nation, they still have the right to exercise their franchise. I still believe that they can still engage them too, to at least let them feel at home.
What would you like to see concerning security during the voting process, the voting period?
That is when we started in 2019. Many people were saying we can go back to our polling unit and vote if the government provides security enough. But when we look at it, how many polling units in a local government or in a world, and how much security do we have in the nation? So it can't work that way. But if they are working in bringing this security in where people are residing now, I think the few of them that are abroad, they can work.
Okay, now let's talk about the transfer of vote where you vote. We know that the recent registration, there was also provision for people to transfer where they vote. For instance, if I'm voting in Abuja and maybe because of crisis I'm displaced, I'm not in Nasarawa, there is a provision for me to transfer my voting place from Abuja to Nasarawa. Do you think that many people in the IDP camps have been able to transfer their place of voting from where they were before?
Yes, when the information reached us, many people were asking their question that if I transfer, will I remain here permanently? But they say no. When you transfer and after election, if the crises are over, you can still transfer back to your polling unit, so there's no problem about that, and which many people did. Many people still feel that they can still go back to their polling unit where they think it is enough for them to go and vote. There's no problem for that.
Thank you for sharing your experience.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you.